everybody, and welcome back to this week's edition of Will and Wise, the Dog Show Drive.
Canadian edition.
Certainly is. I'm Will Alexander.
And I'm Y. Still.
Just because. On this week's Dog Show Drive, we're gonna discuss the horrific accident that happened coming home from the St. Francis Dog Show. And then we're going to talk about perception as well. Perception is everything in this sport. So try to remember about perception. And question of the week was a difficult question of the week. We had some interesting. Yeah, it was a hard question for a lot of people to take in. And Sean Kent from ODS, Oxford Dog Sports, he came on to give us his views and to tell us what's happening in Oxford Dog Sports. And then we also have how things change, but they stay the same. Yvonne's Kennel and Bench.
Kennel and Bench.
All that and more.
And more.
On the Dog Show Drive.
Canadian edition.
How's it going?
It is going, William. How are you?
Well, it's been a week, that's for sure.
I know it's been a week. Holy cow! Lots of stuff. So, did you do much? You didn't really do much this weekend.
No, I didn't. I didn't do much. It was a quiet weekend. I didn't do much at all. The dog shows were too far for me to drive back and forth to go visit for a day. But
yes, But it was Father's Day on Sunday.
It was Father's Day on Sunday, and I spoke to all the boys. Liam came over for dinner on Friday, but he has exams all this week, so he spent the whole weekend studying.
It's that time. Yep.
It was good. And then I talked to James for a good hour and a bit, and I talked to Adam, and it was good. It was good.
Nice. Very good. Very good.
Then I made a bowl of worms and ate them by myself
with dirt.
With dirt.
With dirt.
No.
You treated yourself. You gave a little bit of dirt. Crybaby.
I don't feel that. And I just keep teasing. I'm just kidding.
I know.
Kidding. I'm sure I watched a movie and fell asleep on my chair.
I'm sure you did.
Anyway,
we went to camp. Yeah,
you sent me pictures of Fanny on the boat and stuff.
Yeah, Fanny on the boat. Still don't trust her not to have a lead on her because I don't think she has any self-preservation. And dragonflies go by and she tries to eat them. And I think she thinks the lake is like a surface. And I'm not. I am too old now to take that chance.
Dive in for a rescue.
I mean, she can swim. I've watched her swim. She can, but the shock, because that water's cold, our lakes are cold. So I don't know if she'd be able to get it together to not drown
in time to save herself.
Yeah. So I need to get a life jacket for her. I think once I get a life jacket for her, I'll see and she tries to eat the lures. I almost caught her in the face. Not good.
Oh, geez.
She's not a genius, but her hair blows so pretty.
Silly English setters. Yes. Silly English setters, that's for sure.
English setters. But other than that, got home and then just started doing laundry, Yeah. That's it.
Well, I woke up Monday to some horrible news.
Yes.
Cheyenne and Tori, Polly, who are like family to me with Irish setters. They were driving home from St. Francis show, and they drove right through the night, and they got into an accident, single car accident. And all the dogs are all safe. Dogs are safe. All the dogs are in good shape. Tori's bumped up and rattled. Cheyenne had a back injury, and she's in surgery today because we record on Tuesday, so she's in surgery today. So I've spoken to them all. The accident happened near Grand Falls, I believe, and the Perth Andover Fire Department came out and rescued them. And I when I got the phone call in the morning, apparently Tori's phone had been destroyed in the accident.
Yep.
And so she borrowed somebody's phone and she found nobody knows anybody's phone numbers anymore unless you have your phone.
It's
so
so
she
true.
was able to Google Captiva and find out Jill's phone number and called Jill Taylor, and Jill called me. And so like when the phone rang at 6:15, and it was Jill, I had to pick up because she never calls at 6 or 6:15 unless I'm on my way to a dog show and she's making sure I'm
on
safe
your way
and sound with the Irish setters here if I'm awake. But so yeah, she told me about the accident. So immediately I sent Tori a message, but I didn't know the phone was destroyed. And I called Cheyenne's phone because I thought maybe they had that phone. And a gentleman from the fire department, Dale, the chief from the Perth Andover Fire Department, he picked up the phone, and he told me everything that was going on. The girls were on their way to the hospital. The dogs were all safe and sound here in the fire hall. I'll tell you, those guys at the Perth Andover, they went above and beyond. They were incredible. Because we were scattering, trying to figure out who could pick up the dogs. I called Patrick Mudge, and he was already set, and he was going to get the dogs. And then he got in contact with Dale, and Dale said no, he was going to go pick up Tori at the hospital when she was released, take Tori and the dogs back to St. John's, because he made her a promise that he would look after the dogs. And he said that included getting them home. He said, he said to me, I made Tori a promise that I would look after the dogs. And so I looked after the dogs until they were safe.
Wow.
Just unbelievable.
That's amazing,
It's, yeah. So we're still waiting to hear about the surgery today. And I've spoken to Tori and Melissa, and Cindy Lee is there as well. She's a very good friend. I talked to Lori McGee as well, because Lori McGee went to the first hospital with her, and then followed her on the way when she was transferred to St. John's. They're talking about Cheyenne now. Yeah. So it's so we're just gonna
to wait and
stay
see.
positive and wait till we hear. Apparently, they have a wonderful neurosurgeon in St. John's. That's why she was transferred to St. John's. So the first they sent her to Moncton. I think it was Moncton, or was it Frederick? I can't remember. Mm-hmm. But they changed their mind and said there was a better surgical team, I guess, in St. John's. So that's where she went. So
that's good to know.
We're just going to keep the whole family in our thoughts for now, and hopefully it all ends up positive. So I'm sure it will. I'm sure. Yeah. But they're wonderful girls, and they're a mainstay in dog shows on the East Coast. Mm-hmm. And Tori's come here and helped me a lot. And as everybody knows, Cheyenne bred and co-owned Piper with the Irish Center I showed. And that's how we met. So that was back in early 2000s. Yeah. When I showed Piper. So yeah. But I met Cheyenne before I actually showed Piper, because I met her to talk about Piper.
Right.
So, yeah. And then she's had such success after Irish Setters with her bulldogs. It's and Tori's a chip off the old block. She's following her footsteps. So
she's a really nice girl. Yeah.
Yeah. So
yes, we'll keep them in our thoughts, and
and we'll stay positive.
Stay positive that everything turns out.
Yeah. But I can't say enough about the fire department in Perth Andover. They went above and beyond for the girls and the dogs as well. And,
big thank you to them as well, because that's just one less stress when something like that happens. That's just
for sure
one less stress, because you're everywhere. You just don't know what way to think, where to even start or whatever, and to just have the knowledge that part is being looked after is very comforting. That's for sure. So
and they took pictures of the dogs, and I got to see a few of them, and then so they were, I think the dogs were all likable. I think it was 2 bulldogs, a miniature poodle, and an Irish setter.
Right.
And the fire chief was there. Pictures with the firemen, probably in a calendar somewhere at some point.
Yeah, exactly.
But they were unbelievable. Just
That's
like and Dale followed up with everything. I spoke to him, I think at least 3 times. Patrick spoke to him twice. Like he was always there to,
take the call and
make
give
sure
some.
everybody was in the know.
Yeah. Well, that's excellent. That's excellent. So, all right.
He didn't know who I was, so he asked me who I was. Yeah, I know exactly. But so trying to explain to him about the dog relation, I just said a family friend for a million years. So.
It's just easier that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on.
Move on.
I know we'll have thoughts about Cheyenne and Tori, and stay positive. And
yep.
All
right. Well, let's get across Canada, driven by Show Scene Magazine, where every dog takes center stage. So way out in BC.
Now you're just mocking them.
I'm just mocking them all. Out in Comox Kennel Club from this past weekend, they had 3 shows in Black Creek, BC. The total entry was 484, down a bit from 2024. They had 554 last year, and this year
574.
574. Yeah, pardon me. Did they not do they did their own version of Woofstock out there?
Did they? Oh, yeah, I think they did. Yes, because I saw a picture of Bob Whitney in a tie-dye T-shirt.
Yes.
I know that's not what he normally wears. So
no,
maybe
always.
He does at home. Maybe he does at home with him and Elaine,
Yeah, doing kennel chores.
Have Janis Joplin playing at the house, and they wander around in their tie-dyes.
Little clear Creedence PCR. Thanks. Remember my
maybe it is regular wear for Bob.
Maybe it is. Yeah.
He used to be. He was a drummer in a rock band. Probably.
Get out.
He was. Yeah. And they had a song. What was the song? He told me what it was. Now I can't remember. I should have him on. I'll find out. Let y'all know.
We're gonna get him on a drum set. Never mind.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure Elaine will. Maybe she will now, but she have to take her hearing aids out. Here, you go ahead and play, Bob, and take my hearing aids out. I'll go sit in the corner with the dogs.
I can play the tambourine for him. Anyway. So then up in Yukon Kennel Club, they had 8 shows in Whitehorse, and they had a total entry of 593, and that also was down from 2024 of 897. So
I wonder why it was so far down.
Yeah, because that is a big dip. That's
300 dogs.
100
dogs a day difference, probably.
Yeah. And then Ontario County Kennel Club, they had 3 shows in Hampton, Ontario, and their entry was 602, down slightly from 2024 at 657. And then in Brome, Quebec was the St. Francis.
That changed sites. That was Ontario County used to be in Orono.
Oh, that's true. It used to be in Orono.
I wonder if that changed sites. That could be a reason why the entries went down. But I didn't hear about it being changed. Anyway, go on.
Okay. St. Francis Kennel Club, their entry went up big time.
For sure it did.
From 2024 was 897. This year's entry was 1,267 across 4 shows.
Did they have an extra show from last year?
I wonder.
Yeah. Oh, they had a bunch of nationals. Yeah, they had golden retrievers and Labradors. Those are big numbers.
Yeah.
Those are big numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, those are very popular breeds. Yeah. And then Oromocto Kennel Club in Cross Creek, New Brunswick, they had a total of 328 dogs, slightly up from last year at 301. So
that's good. That's Patrick. That's Patrick Mudge. That's Walter and Patrick's show site.
Oh, very good.
At Cross Creek. So.
Yes. And that was Across Canada, presented to you by Show Scene Magazine, where every dog takes center stage. Then we have our upcoming shows brought to you by Canuck Dogs, your source of Canadian canine event information online. So we have Ontario Breeders Association coming up in Lombardy, Ontario, July 21st through the 24th, closes July 2nd, which is going to be just around the corner before we know it.
Exactly.
Just where's the time going? Prince George Kennel Club in BC, starting on the 24th, ending on the 27th, and it also closes July 7th. And it has 8 shows, 2 obedience trials, 2 rally obedience trials. And then we have the Lakehead Kennel Club. I have to pay attention to this one. Held in Oliver Papoonge, which is Kekabeka Falls.
Kekabeka Falls.
Kekabeka Falls, July 25th.
I always like that. Kekabeka Falls. Sounds like it should be like a Winnie the Pooh storyline.
Well, it's very lovely out at Kekabeka Falls.
Yeah.
Do you know that it is
Let's go to Kekabeka Falls. Sorry. Okay. I love Pooh Bear.
I know. It's got 5 all-breed shows, and it closes July 10th. I have to write that down because I'm supposed to enter this show. Limestone Kennel and Obedience Club, same weekend, July 25th to the 27th, held in Lombardy, Ontario. I don't believe I know the closes on July 2nd, and it's got 3 all-breed shows and limited breed shows for 1, 3, and 5. Then we have the Whippet Club of BC and in Aldergrove, BC on the 26th, as well as the Lower Mainland Whippet Association on the 26th in Aldergrove, and those close on July 2nd. And then there's the Saskatchewan Ontario Association held in Delisle, Saskatchewan, July 26th, closing on July 7th. And that's 2 specialty shows for terriers. And then Saskatoon Area Shetland Sheepdog Association on July 27th, and that closes on July 7th as well. Then there's the Terrier Breeders Association of Canada, and that's on the 27th, and that's a group specialty for terriers and closing on the 7th. And then finally, we have Muskoka District Kennel Club in Bracebridge, Ontario, July 30th through August 1st, closing on July 14th, and that's with 5 all-breed shows. And
I like that little town, Bracebridge. I always enjoy going to Bracebridge.
Yes, it's nice.
That's funny. It's a Terrier Breeders Association. We just had a Terrier Breeders Association, especially the Erie Shores. Wonder how many we have now. Do they have them all across Canada now, Terrier Breeders Association?
I don't know.
Maybe it was a regional here. I don't know. No.
Yeah,
when I was showing dogs, but do you remember when Terrier Breeders was just a huge one-day event?
Yes.
It went off. I think Progressive was one day, and then the next day was Terrier Breeders.
Yeah, yeah.
So it was huge. Like, it was a big event.
Yeah. I remember being held one year at Credit Valley. It was held in conjunction with Credit Valley. That was a really big.
We went to, and you were working for me. We went to the one in, I think it's Richmond Hill. Richmond Green Arena was held in.
Yeah.
Because one day was Progressive and one day was Terrier Breeders, because you handled Betty Hislop's Karen, the Best in Show at Progressive the day before Terrier Breeders.
Yes, I did.
Yep, because we were showing for Betty at the time. So
yes, we were.
And I think I must have won sporting or something. So you went on the Terrier and I stayed on the gun dog, and you won the whole thing with the Karen. And Betty was thrilled. She was excited.
She was smitten with me because then she did ask me to show for her. I showed for her after that too, even after when we went to that show, I wasn't really working for you guys anymore. I kind of
weren't you?
No, not really. But I always would get the call.
Yeah. Call up.
Yep.
Get the call up.
Yep. Going to the big show. Going to the big show.
Bring you into the show.
Hope she can find the van.
Gosh.
Yep. Good times. Anyway, that was all brought to you by Canuck Dogs, your source of Canadian canine event information online. So just
we have some reminders for closing.
Mm-hmm. We have the Charlotte County Kennel Club, and that closes on Monday, the 23rd, or when the limit is reached. And the show secretary for that is Patrick Mudge. Then we
friend of the show, Patrick Mudge.
Friend of the show. And then Cape Breton Kennel Club, closing on Wednesday, June the 25th, or when their limit is reached. And the show secretary for that is Nancy McRae. And then we have the Club Canin du Bas Saint Laurent, closing on Wednesday the 20th.
You missed Shadow Game.
Yeah, but when look at the
it closes afterwards. I see what you did. You
were thinking ahead. I pre-read the agenda and I scratched out the ones we were
that we miss.
I'm on it.
Anyway. I'm like Ron Burgundy. If it's in front of me, I'm just reading it.
Exactly. So Club Canine du Bas Saint Laurent closes on Wednesday. Pascal Ponte. Why can't I say his name now? Because you won't let me.
Her name.
Her name, because you won't let me say my French way. Anyway, it closes on June the 25th. Bob Cajun Kennel Club closes on Monday. Diana Edwards is the show secretary.
Friend of the show again, Diana Edwards.
Yep. Kawartha Kennel Club also closing on Monday. Also Diana Edwards show services. Pine Ridge Kennel Club closing on Monday as well. Same Diana Edwards show services.
Busy.
And then yes, and then we have Sarnia closing on Monday as well, or when the limit is reached, and that is MJN show services.
Isn't that incredible when you have to read war limit when limit is reached? When we were showing dogs, remember how big Sarnia was?
Sarnia was huge.
It was a huge event. It was about, like, I remember getting up to the 700 or 800 dogs on the
easily.
middle day.
Yes, because that was the start. That was like the kickoff of the summer, right? Because it's usually across
it was a big show.
Canada
We had a lot of Americans that came up for that show.
Tons.
Yeah, so
tons would come up and then follow us up to Woodstock and Oxford.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Blue Water.
Blue Water
first.
And when Sarnia, Blue Water, Oxford, Woodstock, Oxford, something like that.
All
and
I
there
know
used
is
to
that
be a Perth in there too, and that one went to the wayside as well.
Yeah, because it used to be Sarnia was huge because it used to be 4 days, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a big show.
Yeah, and then we had a day off. Then we did Blue Water, and then then we went right into Oxford and Woodstock.
Oxford shows. Yeah, because there was 2 kennel clubs. There was Oxford Kennel Club and Woodstock Kennel Club.
Yeah,
and they shared the
venue. Yeah,
the venue, the fairgrounds there.
Yes,
so,
I remember that. Yep.
Those were good set of shows back in the day. They were really fun and well entered. There was well attended. They were good shows.
Well, back when I worked for you, the July, we had, I think, almost 27 days of shows in July.
Yeah, it was crazy.
It was crazy. It was just to get through July, and then, but it didn't. The break was very short, and then what was the very first weekend in August? Was that
Barrie?
Yeah,
Barrie. Yeah,
yeah.
We had that with the Barrie circuit then, which was how did that go back then? Grey Bruce, Muskoka Barrie. Yeah, Grey Bruce, Muskoka Barrie. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
We had a lot of stamina back there.
Crazy.
Now
crazy.
You told
I'm just tired reading it.
Exactly. You told me I had to do 5 or 6 days of dog shows in a row. I'd be like, no. I might go, but I'm not showing, and I'm definitely not getting out of bed at the crack of dawn.
Oh, those were crazy days, yes. But they were fun, and they were always so well attended by. We had such great American. I met so many when I was younger and working for Gary. I met so many amazing handlers that became friends eventually, and because they were all in that circuit. I was really close with Bill Pace and Ann Savory because they used to come up together and for the Barrie circuit.
Bill Pace. Oh, I remember him quite a bit.
Well, Bill and Patty, before, when Ann was still showing dogs, before she became a rep at that point, she would come to shows up in Canada with Bill. Yeah. And it was an amazing time.
And Barbara Heckerman, she used to come up too?
Yeah. I just saw Barbara Heckerman when I was in Ohio. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I remember.
She was on my down and back behind me in the group. I turn around, there's Barb sitting there watching me, judging everything I did.
Yes.
But I saw her afterwards. We got a picture taken. Then I got a group picture taken with Barbara, myself, Luke, and Doug Belcher.
Oh, nice. Nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
Good. All right, so back. This is what happens.
Sorry, back to.
People get. I remember. Anyway,
where did they go?
So London Canine Association closing on June 24th, and that's an MJN show services as well. And
remember when London used to be at the Western?
I think that was the very when I finally moved. Look at now we're off wandering again. When I finally moved down.
Come back.
When I moved down east, when I moved east from Thunder Bay.
South.
Whatever.
When you moved south from Thunder Bay to Southern Ontario.
Yes.
Ontario, which it's called Southern Ontario. It's not called Eastern Ontario. It's Southern Ontario.
Well, to me, it's east. So anyway,
I don't understand why you Thunder Bayites, is that what you call it? San Diegans? Call us the East. We're not the East.
well, you're you're east from us. So the Maritimes is the Maritimes. That's the difference. So anyway, that London Canine was the first show I think I went to when I officially moved down to the Toronto area. Yes, that was the first. I remember that.
Those were wonderful shows as well. My God, they were. And they were sometimes they were so busy they were hard to work when they had the different buildings and.
Yeah. Okay, so Wascana Dog Club closes on Tuesday, June 24th as well.
And Miss Sault Ste. Marie.
I didn't.
It was. Did you say Sault Ste. Marie after London?
I thought I did. We'll have to go to the tape.
We got distracted by London.
London. Oh, maybe I did miss it. So Sault Ste. Marie Kennel Club closes Wednesday, June 25th, or when the limit is reached. And the show secretary for that is MJN Show Services as well. Then the Wascana Dog Club, I have to figure out who this is. Show secretary Diane Fast, June 24th, the closing date.
Where is the Wascana Dog Club?
I don't know. I just said I got to figure this out because Diane Fast.
It must be in Manitoba, right?
Well, maybe it's in Saskatchewan.
Well, maybe. Wascana, I have no idea.
I don't know. Maybe while you talk, I'll look on the internet, on the interweb, and find it.
And then we have Vancouver Island Dog Fanciers Association. Oh, we can't say that one. It's already closed. June 18th.
Go down to Pacific.
Ron Burgundy.
Pacific Kennel Club.
Pacific Kennel Club.
Closes on Wednesday, June 25th at 9 p.m. And the show secretary's Classic Show Services. Wow, that took a lot to get through this.
That did, it did.
We had quite some little chit chats there about stuff, stuff.
We just wander off.
Yeah. It's not looking good for us getting older. I'm going to tell you right now. Like, we'll never be focused and stay on.
I remember when, Yvonne. I should have a section. I remember when. For those who would like to sponsor that. Yeah. Reach out to Dog Show Tips, Dog Show Drive.
Dog Show Drive
at gmail.com. That's the Dog Show Drive at gmail.com.
Okay.
So. We're already here. This week's topic brought to us by Canadian Dog Fancier, a weekly summary of purebred dog events across North America. And right now, Sean and Nadine are actually in Ireland. I saw that. Yeah, Sean was judging at a show in Ireland, and they made a holiday out of it because I keep following along in their pictures.
Yes.
Today, Tuesday, the day of recording, is actually Nadine's birthday.
Yes. So happy birthday.
So when it comes out on Thursday, it'll be old news.
Yeah. It's your birthday.
But happy birthday anyway, Nadine.
I always like that song. I don't know why. Well, it's because I tried it. Okay.
So when I was judging in Syracuse, was it last year or was it this year? I can't recall. Central Park in fall. No.
Focus.
Anyway, Syracuse. I was doing the Irish Setter specialty, and I put up this young puppy dog for winner's dog for the major. I think I gave him best winner. So he was a lovely puppy, and I was getting the picture taken. And I asked the owners, or the handler actually, I said, "This is a lovely puppy. Where did you get it?" Well, as it turned out, it was bred by Jill Taylor and myself. I was mortified. I was like, "What?" I said, "You guys probably shouldn't have entered under me." Now, Jane Myers was the rep there, so she came and spoke to me. And there is actually no rule because the dog wasn't at my house within the time period, and it's just perception. It just looks bad. Like if you look at the results, and it turned out that Will Alexander gave a major to a dog that he co-bred.
Yeah.
And I was like, or in my head, it was funny because I was going over the puppy. I was in my head saying who I thought bred it because it looked familiar to me, and it wasn't Jill or I.
Had to be somebody else. Yes.
Yeah. That's why I inquired with the handler. And when the handler found out that, because the owner was the one that told me it was Jill and I that co-bred the dog, because she wanted to be in the picture as well. The handler was mortified, and she came to me afterwards and apologized. And I said, "It's not your fault. You didn't know, just like I didn't know. I didn't know. I would just do what we do. You showed the dog, and I judged the dog. It's just the way it goes."
Yeah.
Good thing I like the dog. What if I got home and told Joe, "Oh, just crap."
The piece of crap. Can't believe they even entered it.
But Jill messaged me on the way home. Well, that's his first major. Oh, shut up.
Thanks. Don't make it any worse, Jill. No, but perception, like we said, perception is everything. And
exactly. 20 years from now, someone's going to look up those results and go, "Look, Will Alexander put up his own dog. What a crook he is." And, it's just a perception of the whole thing.
And the rules, like in Canada, the rules even are to me, it strikes me as so odd. Some of our rules, and like judges can't walk, like they're not supposed to hang out in the benching area and stuff like this. Yet
you're not even allowed to watch the judging. Really?
No, you're not supposed to watch anything that you are about to judge the next day, or stuff like that. And it's so. Some of those rules are just kind of so silly, and then
you can't police integrity. You really can't.
You can't.
Crook's a crook, and an honest person's an honest person. It's just the way it is.
Exactly. And yet you can judge. You could judge a dog you bred, and for example, my daughters could show to their Uncle Raymond, because the CKC states immediate family and a niece uncle connection. They don't consider immediate family, so they could show to them, to their Uncle Raymond. Of course, they never would, because they know their mother would kill them, and Uncle Raymond would send them out anyway. And even like close relationships, like we've never shown to you. And the other thing is Sean Nichols, because he was very close. Like I still consider him a member of my family, even though we're not blood related. But also, he's judged here in Thunder Bay, and that's a no-show zone.
Right.
And you have to.
And people don't realize that they'll say, "Oh, it's legal. It's legal." That's not the point. It's not the point. You're here and at a dog show, which is already a very subjective sport, and it's open to ridicule. It's open to all because of it's a human nature sport. Just try to be aware of perception. Mm-hmm. Like if I had known that I was the breeder on that puppy, I would have excused him. I would have excused him from competition. And they may have gotten angry with me because it's legal, but I felt it would have been a conflict of interest. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of things happen all the time. I was sent a message last week from somebody asking me a question about a handler. How did it go? A handler was showing a dog to a judge that they co-owned dogs with. The handler co-owned dogs with the judge.
With the judge,
but not the dog they were showing.
Right.
And I said, I'm sure that's against the rules. I'm sure that is. That person is showing to somebody they co-own a dog with. So I haven't looked it up, but it was an American inquiry though. But I'm sure that's against the rules. But like, why would you even put that person in that position?
And that's what people don't they tend to fail to see that side of the judge's side of it. When you walk in to the ring and there's a conflict of interest, if the judge knows, you make the judge feel terrible about having to tell you to get out. It's just nobody wants that, but it's just
you're damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Yeah, it's true. It's true.
And with the scrutiny that a lot of handlers and breeders get thrown on them anyway, because they are potentially successful. So it's just a human nature thing. Scrutiny becomes a human nature thing. Don't set yourself up to be scrutinized.
Exactly.
And don't just walk into a situation when whenever Adam called me with a question, I would say to him, "You already know the answer because you're asking me the question.
You're just looking for permission."
Right.
Yeah.
And he got it right away. And he just,
Yeah.
the way it goes. Now I've told, like, when I'm judging, I have friends in this sport since I was 10 years old. Like, I was
Yeah.
talking to Luke a few weeks ago. It's been 52 years that I've known Luke,
Yeah.
or we've been friends.
Yeah.
Luke could show to me. Like,
Yeah.
I don't care if those people show to me, as long as they understand I'm going to do what I want to do, and not to get mad at me because I didn't like your
Yeah.
Milton Mountain Dog and I didn't put it up. No. So,
Exactly. Yep.
but as long as they're prepared for my honest opinion, and take wins and losses as they come. But even then, I've had friends that I've awarded at dog shows with dogs they're showing, and people say, "Oh, they're friends." Who am I not friends with?
Yeah.
So,
Can't swing a dead cat without hitting a friend.
right. I have friends with.
Yeah.
I have friends all over the place in this sport.
Yeah.
And I can't let it interfere with me as a judge. And I have to. I think judging is a very selfish thing. You need to be selfish to judge.
Yep.
And because you're trying to make yourself happy,
Yeah.
in my opinion. But again, perception. Like, you can't. We talked about it last night. We talked about it yesterday when we had our meeting.
Yeah.
Perception is everything.
It is everything.
And people need to be aware of not letting themselves look the part. And sometimes it's difficult. Sometimes it happens by accident.
For sure.
But let's say, how can I say this? Let's say my mom is judging the Irish Setter Club of Canada sweepstakes.
Yep.
Should I show an Irish setter at that show? I don't know. Like, it's illegal. It's legal.
Yep.
It's very legal, and there's no rule against it. But, like, then there's going to be talk if the dog I showed one, they're going to say, well, they probably talked about it at lunch. Like, just silly things like that.
Yeah, it is silly
and
things.
it was probably would be an honest win, but it's the perception.
Yeah. And the sad thing too now in Canada is the fact that our entries are getting so small, is that in the same breath, is that fair to you and the dog you're showing at the national? Is it fair for you not to show just because your mom's doing the sweepstakes, and even though everything's above board? It's hard. Like, those are, like, unfortunately, that's a hard call now because
on the
of
other
that.
hand, do we want to put the bad taste in a new person's mouth because they see this and think it's crooked? Why would I want to spend my hard-earned money when it's crooked? So there's so many distractions in this world now.
Or so they seem. Seems. Yeah.
But that's what they think. Like, and let's face it, when you first start out and you start connecting the dots, you do think, oh, yeah.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And then
but
you
then
get
you
all
realize
the,
what a small world it is, and that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
So,
everybody knows everyone. It's an
like, I remember when Jane Forsyth used to come up and judge, and she didn't judge a lot up here, maybe 3 times across the country in Canada for the year. And I first met Jane when I was 10 years old visiting Mr. Eldridge. That's when I first met Jane and Bob. And so I've been friends with them in my eye forever. And they always, they were always talk to me like they were my friend and gave me advice, and they were always great to me. And then when the rule came out that judges couldn't talk to exhibitors in Canada, I remember Jane was talking to me. I think we were maybe near the secretary's desk, I think, because she was sitting down. She hadn't started judging, and I was standing there talking to her. And somebody came over to her from the club and said, "You shouldn't be talking." Well, she blew a lid. She was quite upset that they stopped her from talking to me. She said the same thing. I've known him his entire life almost, and I get to see him maybe twice a year. I'm talking to him. I'm saying hi. I'm telling him I like seeing him. And tell me, she'd be the first one to whack you if you walked into the ring with something that she didn't like.
Exactly. She
wouldn't
will
matter
let you know.
I could be her daughter Sue showing it. If she didn't like it, she wasn't putting it up.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
But she'd tell you in the ring. That was back in the days when they did talk in the ring. And I remember showing a dog to her that she had done well for. And she said, "Oh, he looks really good still. But there's a dog in here that's going to give you trouble." And I'm like, oh no. And you start looking around trying to figure it out. But
That's funny. Yeah.
yeah, well, but it was honest. And she ended up putting that dog over me. And she'd given that dog that I had shown a couple best of shows. So I felt quite confident going in there. And the other dog wasn't there previously. So
exactly.
Que sera, such is life. And you learn to take it. What are you gonna do? You're gonna blackball Jane Forsyth? I'm not showing you ever again. I don't think so. See you next week, Kate. I used to mark them on my calendar when Bob and Jane would come and Mrs. Stark would come and Mike Billings would come. And because I wanted to make sure everything was perfect by the time they got here.
No, I remember. I remember.
You would tell me to stop trimming. Stop trimming now, Will. Stop trimming now.
We're getting down to skin, Will. We're getting down to blood now.
Oh, she's not going to like this. I got to do this part to it.
Oh, I remember that. Oh, it's terrible.
But I think that's important.
Yeah.
And I don't really want to go into too much else about what we had in this list because they're not verified. We do know about no, I won't even go into that. No, I don't. We'll leave that until we have verification on all that. Yeah. Because I don't want phone calls saying you no good, blah blah blah.
So and such and such.
Don't you be counting your chickens or something like that. Do you remember Levine DeBron? He was don't you count your chickens. If you thought you won the class, you came running in. Oh,
he was so good. Anyhow,
remember one story?
Okay, explain for those that don't know. Explain who you are talking about.
Levine and Kathy DeBruin. They were judges in the Ottawa area, and they were there. They were judges in Canada for ever. My whole time growing up, Levine and Kathy were judges, and they were both wonderful judges and characters, and had fun with them.
Characters.
They were characters, and Levine said he didn't have a filter, like he just said it. And I remember one time, I won't say who the handler was, but the handler walked in, and it was a handler that only showed in the summer circus. We only saw us like once a year. And he "Hi, Levine, how are you? It's good to see you. I want to introduce you to my wife." "Oh, I've met your wife." Then Levine took one look at her. "Oh, not that one."
Oh, priceless.
No. He was a character, no question. Anyway.
So good. So
and the perception was different back then because I think everybody was more lax back then. Not lax, but relaxed.
Well, yeah, I think relaxed is a better term, and I think there was a I don't know. There was an air of you did speak with the judges. The judges did speak to you. And
you held them in high regard. Like when one of them spoke to you, you were like, "We're not worthy. We're not worthy."
Exactly that. For example, for whatever reason, Bob and Jane came to Dryden, Ontario to judge a dog show. And that's when I had the great Jezeroo. It was before I moved down there. And I had his top coat, and because
Jezeroo was an English setter.
English setter, yes, the great Jezeroo. And there's a name, Jezreel. But you had told me, "Jane, she'll like him. You need to make sure his trim is good," and blah. And so
don't cheat on that top coat.
And I remember she went over him and she was holding the end of his tail and she was looking up and down his top coat. And literally, I think I was peeing. And she said, "You're doing a fantastic job of this." And I could have just walked out of the ring. I was like,
exactly.
I'm good. I don't care if I get a ribbon. I'm good.
When those people spoke to you back then, you listened and you took it, and I took criticism from them. And you're upset at the moment, like, "Oh my God!" But you took it and you learned from it, and it made you better. Those people made you better. I forget who who told me this. Maybe Bobby Stebbins. They love them or hate them, showing to them, they make you better.
Yes.
They make you better, and because you try to either show to impress them, to prove to them, or show to them to prove them wrong, that you are right.
Yes.
So you raise your game to be better because of those type of judges. So.
Yeah, for sure. So that was our topic of the week.
Which actually, you know what, that happened by pure accident, leading into this week's question of the week.
It did, yes.
How about them apples?
You're good.
We planned it.
Wow, we didn't even plan it, because I do remember
that just happened.
Yeah, I do remember.
Do you want to tell them the question of this week?
No, because it's not written down for me. And you thought of it. I'm telling you, unless it's in front of me. The question of the week.
Oh no! Oh, we can't go to that yet. We got to follow the script. Never mind. But afterwards, this part, we'll talk about last week's question, which was accessibility at dog shows. What measures should CKC and other clubs and event organizers implement at show venues to enable accessibility for all exhibitors and spectators? Now, that was a hard question for a lot of people. Because it's a tricky question, because accessibility could mean a lot of things.
A lot of things for a lot of different people.
And I think before we get into the response that we got for the question, let's cut to Sean. Sean Kent from Oxford Dog Sports, ABI, and UKC events. He has his own venue, and he holds events there. So I asked him to check this week's question and give us his thoughts on it, as well as what's happening at Oxford Dog Sports. So here, go ahead, Sean, and Sean Kent from the Oxford Dog Sports. Hi, everybody, and as promised, we have Sean Kent here from ODS, owner of Oxford Dog Sports and president of ABI. Hey, Sean, how's it going? And longtime friend.
It's going. It's okay. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's getting warmer out again. I have to get my air conditioning cleaned up today. And anyway, don't want to carry on too much. Sean's going to comment on last week's question because they do hold events at ODS. And so he's a good one to ask about accessibility. Sean, what are your thoughts, my friend?
Well, as far as accessibility here at Oxford Dog Sports, it is accessible as far as ability to get in the building, size of the washrooms, so those mobility issues. There's always assistance for people who have mobility devices such as walkers and so on to be able to help them, staff dedicated to do that piece. And the bigger question for accessibility is why don't we have as many people with disabilities or mobility issues or any type of disabilities coming to dog shows? Is that because buildings are not accessible? We really don't have any data about that. This is a really big question and not a soft, fluffy question.
No, not at all.
To answer, and not an easy answer. There's something like approximately 50% of all buildings in Ontario are not accessible. So for clubs, that's a big number. For clubs,
that is.
Hosting shows, I think a lot of the challenge is that buildings that they would like to have shows in may not be accessible. And on the other side, buildings that are accessible are not always appropriate for dog shows, or people want to have dog shows in them, and so on. So I think that's the big challenge. So as far as an answer, I don't really have an answer. There needs to be more buildings accessible and I guess willing to have shows before that is going to change in any way. I think that we look at accessibility, when you say that, everybody thinks of mobility, but there's a lot of other issues related to accessibility for people with visual impairments. How accessible are buildings as far as that? There's lots of other things related to accessibility.
I think it's amazing that you have staff on hand that is their job. So
Yeah, there's people that person that picks up all those miscellaneous things. But it does make you wonder why there aren't more people. I mean, we've had people here doing rally. We've had people here doing nose work that have mobility devices and so on. Some of those events are out in the field. Some of them are inside. And most people are very willing to tell you what they need.
Right.
What they need. So it's just, kind of your job to pick up what they're putting down as far as what they need to be able to be successful at the events and in the environment.
It's incredible. Like and over the years we've had people with mobility issues showing dogs. I remember people in the ring showing beagles with the electronic or motorized chair.
Yeah.
And also there was that gentleman that was losing his sight, and he had a runner, so he would go in, set his dog up. It was a greyhound, I believe, and he would set his dog up, but then he had a designated runner for his dog, or he had someone that ran beside him. He had both.
Yeah.
So it's interesting.
But it's not a quick answer. That's
no, it's not.
It's my 2 cents worth for what it is worth.
Yeah. So thank you for that, Sean. So what's been going on? What's happening at ODS? What do you got for us?
Well, we have some stuff coming up. This session of classes, we have about 31 classes starting in July for all kinds of different stuff, but that's kind of standard for us here. We do have an ABI dog show this weekend. June Friday, there's an evening show at 6:30, and then 3 shows on Saturday the 21st, and 2 shows on Sunday the 22nd. There will be day of show entries up till 8:30 in the morning. We're going to have a stud dog and brood bitch class at all shows, and a brace entry is free with the entry in a regular class. So encouraging people to bring out their braces. Casual attire, backyard barbecue attire. So a casual show. And we're going to hopefully have some backyard barbecue potluck type of deal going on.
So that's this weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday?
Weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I might just drop in on Sunday, Sean.
Yeah, you should. It should be a good time, and we'll see what entries bring out. We just had our first trial Saturday for Urban Rat Race in Sarnia. So we have a group in Sarnia, Blue Water Dog Sports, and they had their first trial. So I went there to judge, and it was really good. Very, very exciting to see this sport that we've created expand into other areas. It's really very proud of what these two organizations are doing. So that's kind of fun. We do have an urban rat race trial June 29th and here, and a UKC nosework trial July 5th and 6th. It's a 2-day trial, UKC format. And
so excuse me for interrupting. So your urban rat race. Now the club that's doing it in the Blue Water Dog Club. Yeah. Now, do they go through you? Is that they go through? Is it ABI or is it?
Yes. So the sport is sanctioned by ABI. So that's kind of the governing body. And they, it's a bit, very similar as far as, they get a license. There's, a fee per dog, just like at the CKC or UKC. And they have to choose from recognized approved judges that we have trained. So that's happening right now in 2 other locations. So they had one at Focus Dog Training in Niagara and the Blue Water Dog Sports in Sarnia. So there will be more of those. They were really great. Idea. Yeah, so we're excited about them, taking this on.
That's something that could go across Canada, I think. So.
It sure could. It absolutely could. These were people that were kind of came to us for nose work and so on, and we've known for years. So, we were very excited when they, said that they would like to take this on and do it in other locations. Do have another location that is. We're in the process of developing, which shall remain nameless at this point, but it's kind of in another direction, which would be good so that people can from all different directions can get it. On one of the next podcasts, if you have me back, what I'm going to do is kind of talk about different dog sports. So we'll talk about urban rat race, what that is, talk about nose work and what that is.
That's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Yeah. So what we'll do that, just so that, what are the benefits of dog sports? It's an awful lot of fun for dogs and people. And I'd just like to tell people a little bit more about them. So there's that. There's the UKC trial. And there's a new program, brand new ABI program called ABI Scent Dog Program. So it is a nose work type of program, but yet another, our third sport that is sanctioned by Alberta International Dog Shows. So we're really excited about that.
Oh, good.
We have our first trial in July. We're also in preparation mode for our extravaganza in September, which is a big show, September 19, 20, 21. And there's 6 shows and 3 nosework trials and 4 rally trials and 2 obedience trials and so much more. There's some specialties and all kinds of really cool things. So we're in a...
That'll be fun. That'll be at Oxford Dog Sports outside in the field there.
This will be our third one. And it's a lot of moving parts with that many sports going on at the same time. Sure. But it's fun. So I'll fill you in a little bit more about that as things unfold. It'll be fun. I'll talk about sponsors and so on. We have some great sponsors this year, and that'll be just excellent. Make it all prizes and all that kind of fun stuff.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds exciting.
Always lots going on every weekend. I had a day off.
I can't wait to get back there myself. So
yeah. I had a day off yesterday. Well, it was my 5th one this year. Yeah, it was pretty exciting.
He's spoiled rotten.
5. Crazy. Yeah. So that's about it. That's going on. There's always lots going on, and lots other programs in development with ABI. And we can talk about that. But I think it would be good to just talk about dog sports. Why do dog sports? And then talk a little bit about each one and what dogs it would be good for, what dogs excel at different things, what the benefits are, and so on. I think that might be something that your viewers would like to know a little bit more about.
Oh, there's no question. We're getting a vast from different worlds in the sport of dogs. So it's great. Give us your email address again so they can reach out to you, or your website.
So the website is oxforddogsports.com. As far the best email to email anything is classes, the word at, so classes ATODS @gmail.com. So classes ATODS @gmail.com. That will take you to Amanda, who's our registrar and operations manager.
And she's great.
And she just sorts things. She works for us remotely now, and she just sorts things where they need to go, and keeps me as I have 2 people keeping me organized now, because 1.5, because it's a big job. It's a big job. So that's how to get in touch with us. And if you have any questions, another good contact of someone can help with anything is Lisa. So her email is Lisa Lisa at ods@gmail.com. And she's my assistant, and she can help you with a bunch of stuff too. Facebook page is also a great place to see what's coming up. The Oxford Dog Sports group page and the ABI page will have all the information about classes, events, trials, shows, all that kind of jazz all the time. So it's a really good way to find out what's going on, to join those pages.
Excellent. All right. Well, thank you, Sean. And we'll have you back. I'd like to have you back again next month to give us another update, and before your extravaganza for sure. So
yeah. Okay. All right. Excellent. We'll talk to you soon.
And maybe I'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me.
All right, Sean. Thanks,
Bye.
man. So those are some good points of view. He made a lot of different, because it wasn't just about mobility accessibility. It could be hearing difficulties. Seeing difficulties.
Yes.
There's a lot of those things that we have to take into consideration, and it was like Sean said, that's a hard question. It's It's a very hard question. Made you think. So let's go to some of our responses that we got online. You can go ahead and start the first one if you'd like.
Sure. So Kendall Wharton, require appropriate aisle widths within reason and require a minimum amount of spectator seating around the rings. I found both to be a challenge at many shows, and while I know it can be hard to always have a clear aisle between rings, it needs to be easier for people to move around. Same thing with seating. I also think providing a map of the show would be amazing and could easily be included in the schedule. And that's kind of fair. I believe that, especially if you have a new, and there are some shows that do, if the grounds are large, especially in the States, they do supply you with maps.
Give you a map. I think when you're looking at our smaller shows in the summer, it might be more difficult.
Yeah.
And the outdoor shows are more difficult to help or to work for accessibility for people, just because you're on a field. Susan McLeod wrote, I think it starts with ensuring smooth and unobstructed access to all parts of the venue. That includes wide aisles, ramp access to rings, reserved parking close to entrances. I like that idea too. I think you can easily set up a reserved parking area. Also, restrooms need to be fully accessible, not just marked as such but actually usable. I've had to skip shows because of poor venue planning.
And that's unfortunate.
Yeah, it is unfortunate.
Jamil Chowdhury, parent of a junior handler with autism, and seeing this when we were talking about accessibility, like there's a lot of different, aspects of accessibility. So accessibility isn't only about physical mobility. Shows should consider sensory accommodations, quiet zones, clear signage, and announcers who speak clearly without shouting. A small, calm space can make a world of difference for neurodivergent exhibitors and spectators.
That's another thing to look at, and it makes all the sense in the world. And I understand the difficulty clubs have, but they most of them do their very best. Like Sean was saying, he has staff on hand just for such occasions. So it's important. Next, we have Edith Tarn from Coboconk, Ontario. I recently brought my mother, who uses a walker, to a show, and it was tough. I'd suggest designated seating for those with limited mobility and better communication in the premium list about accessibility options. Even just listing whether the venue is step-free would help us plan.
That's true.
That's true. In their premium list, thank you, Edith. In their premium list, if they would put that in there, that would give people warning and be prepared.
Yeah. Carlo Nunez, lighting and layout matter, not just for photos, but for accessibility. Venues need to consider how the layout impacts flow. When grooming areas block exit or viewing paths, it's not only frustrating, but unsafe. There should be clear, accessible routes through all areas. I think most shows in general do try to follow that.
For sure they try. And
they do try.
And they will take advice as long as it's not antagonistic advice.
Yes.
Like
make a suggestion, not a demand. Yes. Yeah.
Brianna Ellis, who is a hearing impaired handler. Visual cues matter. I rely on hand signals and written instructions. Things like flashing ring call boards, written judges' instructions, even ASL interpreters at larger events would make it so much easier for the deaf or hard of hearing participants. We've had a lot of, I think back on a few exhibitors. There was a gentleman that showed greyhounds that was visually impaired.
I was in the Ottawa area, wasn't it?
Yes, and he would come in and stack his dog up, and he would run with his dog, but he had a running assistant who held his arm and guided him around the ring.
I totally remember that guy, totally.
And I have a student in one of my classes that you would have no idea that they are hearing impaired. They do such an incredible job, and you can see them watching as I'm talking. And then I've seen them at dog shows, and it's the same. And if they sometimes do tell the ring store to have the judge direct their questions directly at them so they can read their lips. But this one person I'm speaking of, you wouldn't have a clue. They do such a wonderful job with their dogs.
Wow.
And I've watched her win groups and best in shows, and you wouldn't have a clue. So, yeah.
Oh, all right.
They're probably more attentive than me out there. I remember being in best in show one time, and Elaine Whitney hitting me because my dog, the judge, had pointed to me for best in show, and she's like, "You won, you won." I'm like, "Oh, me, oh."
Thank you.
They like me. They really like me.
So so that was our question last week. And then the question for this week, which
goes back to what we talked about earlier about Jane and Bob and Annie and Mike Billings. And
this week's question is, what judge from yesteryear did you admire and why? So make sure you send us in your answers on Facebook. And the question of the week is powered by ProPlan. Fuel the champion in your dog. Yeah. So.
All right. This is a good one.
Yeah.
All right, Yvonne, take it away.
I got my Kennel and Bench because remember last week we gabbed a lot, and like this week we've gabbed a lot, but we have saved a little bit of time. So this week's Kennel and Bench.
You have 7 minutes.
Okay,
7 minutes, then Doc's going to give us heck.
All right. Give me at 5 minutes. Give me a old whatever.
Go ahead.
This is from the Canadian Kennel Club. This is from the Kennel and Bench, and it was from June of 1938. So almost 100 years ago. Almost. Not quite, but almost. And I pulled this one because we just had our AGM, our annual general meeting, and this is in regards to the annual general meeting that year. And I just give you some highlights of it. And it's funny because a lot of this stuff we kind of still talk about 100 years later.
How things change, how they stay the same.
Yeah. So I'll start here. The president advised that because of the action taken by the members at the last annual general meeting, when certain proposed amendments to the Constitution had failed to receive support, the Department of the Minister of Agriculture had advised that the renewal of provisional approval of the Constitution could not be considered. So this is the CKC still trying to get their constitution agreed upon. And then there's like blah, 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 blah. And then Mr. Hitchman referred at once to the serious situation confronting the club in respect to the matter of registration. He advised that he had been able to impress the Director of Production Services that if the Constitution was allowed to continue, there was a provision in it which would make it possible to meet the requirements of the Livestock Pedigree Act, which we fall under today. So It was all about this, I guess, hullabaloo about this. Mr. Reeve asked what the position of the club would be supposing it was decided not to continue operating under the Livestock Pedigree Act. Mr. Hitchman advised that any 5 men could ask for a charter to register dogs, which, if granted, would replace the Canadian Kennel Club in respect to registration.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was, that was a big moment there, and obviously we do fall under the Animal Pedigree Act. So
that long ago, like 1938, was stoning involved? If there was like a lot too many negative comments and
caning, maybe
caning. Okay.
So anyway, and then it goes on. They're that they're going to still work on this, and then they talk about identification of dogs. A breeder must apply to the Canadian National Livestock Records for and be allotted letters for his exclusive use in identifying dogs whelped on his property. So it's just our tattoo registration, right? So which continues. And they mark the year. Every year had a specific letter to it. They talk about Article 21 fees be amended in respect to fees, 12th line, registration of tattoo letters, et cetera, et cetera. So they talk about that. And then the other thing that caught my eye was their budget or the financial statement. This actually was just the financial statement for the month of April, but I laughed at this one line just because of the amount. It was like that Mr. Jones be allowed $20 per month for the use of his car on Kennel and Bench business. So
I wonder what Mr. Jones that was. I wonder if it was Frank Jones as a young man. because Frank was when I was a kid. Frank was older. He was director, and he bred Labradors. I wonder if that was the same man.
Megan, you're gonna have to look that up. Find out if this
Yep.
Mr. Jones is Frank Jones.
Frank
All right.
Jones. Just
And
out of
then,
curiosity, just to
So
because
then
Will's
we
asking.
Yes, and then I was looking at the salaries for the CKC in Toronto for the month of April was $720 for the month, and the Kennel and
That's all
Bench.
what?
Yes, that was
$720
yeah, that was for all
for the whole staff.
Yep, that's what it looks like. The rent was $75.
Oh wow! We should have kept that place.
They should have kept that place.
They
Yeah,
should have renewed that one.
for sure. And then, but Kennel and Bench, I guess because it was, because we'll have to look that up when Dogs in Canada became the CKC publication, because by the sounds of this, Kennel and Bench was a separate entity, and their
for the
salaries.
longest time, Dogs in Canada was a separate. It was separate as well.
Mm-hmm.
They just had the right to print the results.
Right.
But it was a magazine. Because I remember Alan Resnick was the editor for a long time.
Oh, yes, for the longest time he was. Yeah. So Kennel and Bench, their salaries were $200 a month. So,
yeah.
And then, so
Mr.
I
Big
just,
Bucks, what you do, step in there.
so anyhow, I found that to be very interesting that, and they just had all this information and the stuff that, I mean, we still talk about, whether, every once in a while it still comes up whether we should be under the Animal Livestock and Pedigree Act or not. So,
That's interesting. That's almost 100 years ago. So.
Yeah, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
And
All
so-
right. I think that's it. Our dog's gonna cane us.
All right.
So-
We don't want that. I can't do a caning.
No.
My bones are sore from.
Candy canes. Anyway, all right.
All
Take
right,
us
so-
away, Vaughn.
Well, don't forget to click like and subscribe to our podcast on the YouTube, and check out our Facebook page for the question of the week, and our TikTok account too. I don't know what's happening on TikTok, but that's all right. So everyone driving this weekend, stay safe, seatbelts on, glasses on. Till next week.
Somewhere down the road. Be safe. Head Over Heels, written by Jim Cuddy and Greg Keeler, and performed by Blue Rodeo. Is that long enough, Doc?
Yeah, really.